covers the Vikings for The Athletic, and I would put him at,
Yeah.
I would say
Higher. Whatever you're about to say, higher.
I don't want to. I'm gonna go top
Higher.
3 of my favorite ex-colleagues at The Athletic.
I think he's got to be higher.
But this way, nobody knows who the other 2 are.
Okay. Yeah, I remember reading Alec's stuff before the Vikings game this past season. I'm like, man, this guy is good.
Oh, I don't really care much for his work, but as a guy,
I mean, I care for his work. He does great work.
Alec, how you
Thank
doing?
you. Yeah, it's good to be here. Yeah, Bo, you're definitely one of my top favorite 17 former colleagues. It's good to be here. I never expected that I'd get the invite to the PHLY show. I really didn't think it would come as a byproduct of Chris Kuper's presence. Happy to be here, and whatever you need from me, I'm here to provide it.
All right, so explain to us why we were laughing about this. As EJ was like, he just looks up Chris Kuper on YouTube, and it's nothing but you know those YouTube thumbnails, and it's nothing but like, praise Allah, he's gone, or finally, O-line coach sucked me off, but here we are. And why is it that he's such a lightning rod for Vikings fans?
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings offensive line over the last 4 years has been terrible. I mean, I think that's the easiest way to begin and frame it. Now, how much of that is a result of Chris Kuper? It gets murky when you're trying to evaluate and analyze things. And I think, as you guys know very well, fan bases are often looking to someone to point to and blame things for. And so I'm really personally fascinated to see when you plug Chris Kuper into an entirely different environment with different players, a different scheme, different personalities, like what will it look like? Like, I'll say this about Chris Kuper. He was very respected by the players. Kevin O'Connell really liked him for a long time. I mean, for multiple years, he sung his praises. And then his contract ran out at the end of this season, and it was pretty clear that they were going to move on. Now, that's a kind of a rosier view. I'd say the reason you see a lot of those thumbnails is because the pass protection has just been pretty putrid. And there were a lot of changes made on the offensive line, different guards, a different center, tackles in and out. There's a lot of factors at play. But in the end, if Chris Kuper was an offensive line coach at the level of Jeff Stoutland, he would still be here for a team that needs the offensive line to be much better into 2026.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Alec, about the moving pieces. From an outsider's perspective, it does seem like the Vikings have had to deal with a lot of injuries up front, but I always think it's a good indicator on how the position coach is managing the room, how the backups perform when they're called upon. So how would you say some of the reserves have played over the last few seasons under Chris Kuper?
Yeah, I mean, you can pick out specific guys. Like Blake Brandel has been a perennial backup in his time in the NFL. And this past year, he was thrust in there to play center and different guard spots, and he did not sink. He definitely swam. Now, was he an exceptional interior offensive lineman? No. I mean, you could look at a guy like Justin School, who was a backup this past year, who had to step in for Christian Darrisaw, and it didn't go spectacularly. But again, it's really hard to evaluate Chris Kuper because there were a lot of games in 2025 in particular where they didn't know entering the game, is Christian Darrisaw, arguably their best offensive lineman, going to be healthy? And there were pregame workouts where you'd look down on the field and looks like they're arguing over who's playing and why they're playing or why they're not. So to pin it solely on Chris, I think, would be faulty. And then the other aspect that I think people listening to this and watching it should know is that the Vikings are a pass-first, pass-heavy operation. And so with a lot of deep drop concepts. And so there was often a difficulty in evaluating, is pass protection struggling because the guys are losing or because the pass concepts are so deep that it's asking a lot of guys who may not be able to protect for that long. And so, again, for me, just looking at this from afar, it's an experiment of sorts of like what happens when you put a guy who was dinged often for the offensive line's performance in an entirely different system and environment and play calling sequence style that Sean Mannion will have.
The things that they struggled with in pass pro, was it a lot of missed assignments on handling stunts and twists, stuff like that? Was it guys just getting beat one-on-one? And then also, does he get any credit for Darrisaw's ascent to like superstardom, or did that completely precede him?
No, he gets a little bit of credit for sure. I mean, Christian was already starting to show signs of becoming one of the premier left tackles when Chris got here in 2022. But I mean, again, Christian liked him. All of the offensive linemen really did. And so, I don't think you can remove at all Chris's influence on what Christian Darrisaw has been able to do. As far as what they struggle with, I mean, this isn't probably going to, I don't know if the VHLY viewers are going to love this, but yeah, I mean, in 2022, 23, and 24, it was a lot of stunts and twists. There were also some quick pressures, specifically on the right side with Ed Ingram, who was drafted in the second round. And the Vikings moved on from Ed Ingram ahead of 2025. And then he had his best season in 2025 in Houston. So that was a point of contention, I think, amongst a lot of the fans. And then in 2025, it was, Will Fries was this highly paid signing to be the right guard to replace Ed Ingram. And he lost one-on-one oftentimes in 2025. So it was a combination of all that. And I would say, too, you can mention Ed Ingram here. People also like to reference Garrett Bradbury, was the longtime center. He leaves. He becomes the center in New England, had a pretty good year. Obviously didn't have a pretty good night last night. So, again, I
Chris Kuper will drink to that. Yeah.
Yeah. When I cover Major League Baseball, I used to always think people love to blame the pitching coach or the hitting coach. And oftentimes it's just the talent that you have on the field. But then there are certain pitching coaches and hitting coaches who really do elevate guys' performance. So, it's I think here locally, there was very much a feel of the Vikings have to move on from somebody, and Chris Kuper made perfect sense as someone to move on from. Now, was he the primary culprit and reason that the pass game struggled in 2025? Absolutely, positively not. The quarterback play was putrid. They didn't run the ball efficiently a ton. And so that's, again, one of my curiosities. If Philly leans into Saquon in the ground game, how much will that help everything else for Chris Kuper's unit there? I think it will help, and I think it's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, how was the run blocking?
Well, they haven't run the ball a ton. I mean, so they had before 2025, the run game was really subpar here and has been under Kevin O'Connell. In 2025, for a couple reasons, the run game took a step forward. One, they brought in Jordan Mason at running back. Two, they realized if they didn't run the football better with the quarterback play, they were really going to have no chance, which they already didn't have much of a chance offensively. So it hasn't been something to ride home about. And you're going to get people here in Minnesota that hope that with Keith Carter, who has a checkered history as the offensive line coach for 2026, and with Frank Smith's inclusion, that this run game really takes a step forward. So that's kind of going to be the expectation in the conversation here.
One of the things that Jeff Stoutland became known for was these pin pull schemes that really leveraged an athletic center. I know it was Bradbury for a while there. I guess do you get the sense that he values having an athlete at center, somebody that gets out in space? I guess stylistically, how do you think it meshes with him and someone like Cam Jurgens?
Yeah, I definitely feel like that would be something he'd prefer. One of the challenging aspects for me covering him in the run game specifically over the last 4 years is and I had a lot of these conversations with fans, with people internally of what is the identity here? You guys want to do some mid-zone. You want to lean into duo. There's some power counter gap scheme stuff sprinkled in, but it really never feels like something you're dying to do. So, that was a constant question here, both, what is the run game identity? And then out of the gun, why aren't you running it more if you're going to live in the gun with certain quarterbacks? So there's been a lot of I'd say frustration here about just the lack of consistency. Now I will say this because I'm on here and I feel like it's important. Like, I don't know what people there are saying about Sean Mannion. Everybody I've talked to who have spent time around him here
Yeah.
really think he is a sharp guy and that he can manage and handle the circumstances there. Now, I don't know how to wade into Sirianni's influence and how all of that will play out. I'll leave that to you guys, and you can, crooked T. That's why they have you guys here to endorse them. But I mean, I do think with Sean, you're going to have someone who will have a shared language in Chris Kuper, and that should probably help him. Now, I don't know if it would help him as much as having the best offensive line coach in the NFL would be in Jeff Stoutland.
What kind of like personality are we going to get in Chris Kuper?
This is what I wanted to get to.
Yeah.
What am I expecting in this?
Are we getting a yeller, like an MFer going at guys? Or is this hug them up? What kind of style are we going to get on the practice field?
Yeah, I think more of a hug 'em up style is Chris Kuper's tact. I mean, I don't think I've sat with him for multiple interviews. I remember, I don't really care to say this, but in 2022, I had this great idea in my first year covering the NFL I'm going to watch some film with the offensive line coach. He can point out some stuff. I'm going to learn some stuff from it. And he just was having no part of it, did not want to give away any secrets and was not willing to be very, I don't know, like I don't think he respected my knowledge enough to want to really dive deeply, which I totally understand from his perspective. So my impression of him was always.
Wait, so hold on. Did you start doing that story, or he like shot the story idea down?
Oh no, I did the story.
You sat down for the story, but he didn't play ball.
Exactly. Yeah, and he didn't play ball probably because, again, like my questions on
that's
Christian
on you.
Air
You gotta that's on you. You gotta get him to play ball.
No doubt. But his willingness to sit with me, I think, did and I will say this on a serious note, like we sat down multiple times over the course of the last 4 seasons, and he was always, I mean, easy to talk to, forthcoming. He's not, I don't think, ever going to be the one walking off the practice field seeking out media members to talk to. It's just not his nature. He's a former player, played a long time in Denver, and was schooled by Mike Munchak. And so that unit and that group always was a very kind of tight-knit, together, we don't need to be out in the media type of operation. And so, I wouldn't expect him to be the most loquacious personality off the practice field, but he's a good guy. I think he knows knows what players want and how to treat players because of his past experience.
I love this story of the story. I like to imagine you going through the tape afterwards, like listening to the audio and then figuring out like early on you said something that totally soured him on the entire process, and then just kicking yourself.
It's always a terrible feeling as a reporter.
It was like, I mean, I remember it was probably like week 4. I just moved covering baseball, and I'm looking at all 22 film, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do something on Christian Darrisaw taking another step, and I'm like, so what do you see here? And he's like, and it was just not. He wasn't verbose with providing me a lot of intricacies that I thought would be the detail that would generate 150 subscribers for that story. It definitely didn't result in that, but I gave it my best shot, and I obviously haven't forgotten it.
Good on you. Yeah. Go ahead.
I've got a silly one. I mean, the guy can't like bake cookies, can he? You know, because that's a big void left by the Stoutland family. Yeah. You know, that like
well, he's not cooking them. It's
his wife. Yeah. So maybe does he have a connection that can provide the familial feel?
And so the question here, Alec, is scouting report on his wife's cooking abilities.
No. Yeah, I like to think of myself as very versatile from a reporting standpoint, but that was not something that I ascertained over the course of his 4 years here. I will say this. I mean, look, you guys are really searching deep on Chris Kuper, but his kids played flag football with Brian Flores' kids. Okay. They were close. And I think a lot of the staff respected him. I do. Chris Kuper's experience with Brian Flores should help them from a how to handle every blitz in the entire playbook standpoint. But as far as the baking portion of the reporting, it was something that I wish I looking back, something that I'm going to regret not digging deeper on.
Now, Alec, I have to tell you, 2 weeks ago, Matt Schneidman joined us to talk about his scouting report on Sean Mannion, and he joined us from the lobby of Lambeau Field. Great backdrop. So I do need to ask you, it looks as if you are in the bathroom of an insane asylum. What is it exactly that we have here behind you?
Kind enough to join us, and here you are.
I'm in my apartment. Yeah, I'm not at Lambeau Field, but you know Matt Schneidman. I mean, he's always out at the highest level, doing it on a consistent basis. Now I'm in my apartment. I'm here working on a story on how the Seahawks supported Sam Darnold better than the Vikings did in 2024.
Yeah, I'm actually curious about that. What is the what is like the we let him get away feeling there as Darnold wins the Super Bowl?
So I went to get coffee this morning here locally, and I got back to my apartment, and the maintenance guy at my apartment, I just got up the elevator. He's like, "So we should have kept that guy, huh?" I mean, he knows. I mean, we've chatted before, but yeah, I think people are extremely it's a classic Vikings type of feel where this team has never won the Super Bowl. And last year, after losing in the first round of the playoffs to the Rams, you let the guy out of your building and he wins the Super Bowl for the Seahawks. It definitely does not sit well with people. And I mean, you guys will know, I mean, 2 weeks ago, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, the GM, was fired. And so there have been...
Can't be taking paternity leave. I mean, not in this business.
I've heard that was a subject worth conversation for a lot of people. But no, so the ramifications of the Vikings' decisions of last spring have obviously warranted some serious accountability here. And the Vikings find themselves where they seemingly always find themselves, where from February to April, the cycle of the Vikings fan is to assess who the next quarterback is going to be or whether or not they're sticking with the previous quarterback. So I will have probably 90 mock scenarios to generate more subscriptions over the next month as we do here.
Awesome. We look forward to it. Alec, thank you so much.
Yeah, this was great stuff. Thank you, Alec. Appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you guys having me. Thanks for the really kind words of being in the top three, Bo. I appreciate it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to watching Chris Kuper up there more than most, probably. So I can't wait to see what he can do.
Where can our listeners who are now smitten with your presence, where can they follow you?
Yeah, theathletic.com, where I do my day job. And then I have a podcast because I'm a human being and we have to these days.
White guy. I mean, what else are you going to do?
Under the very creative name, The Alec Lewis Show. I mean, I really...
That's good SEO.
That's great. Yeah.
It's good SEO. And
if you ever get a job covering a different team, you don't have to, it's not the Vikings show. This is,
That was a thought, Bo. I mean, and that's why you're as astute as you are. But I think at this point, having covered this league for 4 years, the idea of going somewhere else and doing this all again it's cumbersome. So thank you guys for having me, and I'll tune in and send me some crooked tea. I'm curious now.
All right, maybe we'll bring some to the combine for you.
Thank you.